agenda, we're looking at school. We're not gonna continue last night's. We moved last night's, if everyone saw the email from Wednesday, the cancellation due to weather, moved to this coming Monday night back here at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. The 7, yes, 7, sorry, too many movements. At 6 p.m. be Monday night here. I'll send out a text again to everybody, 6 o'clock here Monday night for last night's missed pieces.
Good.
All right, that brings us to tonight's agenda. First up on tonight's agenda, we're gonna, are there any pieces left over anyone would like to talk about over from last night or from the night before that we've missed? Anything anybody wants to go back on? You should have received an email today from Miss Amy with a couple of the questions that had been answered. I do have a printout. I did a single printout. If anybody needs to see it, I can pass it around. I know the grant funding piece is still a conversation that has not been answered, and it's in the work that was in that email as well. Towards the question, towards fund balance at the end. Anyone with anything they want to say before we get rolling forward? Anything towards tonight's meeting? Mr. Ford?
I want to take just a minute and talk to Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Last year, about this time, I was encouraging not to do that 2.5% increase because I knew what was going to be fund balance. Turn to page 39, you've all done seen it. We have anticipated fund balance of $5,621,000 this year. Next year, we have a fund balance of $1,194,567. $1,194,567. I've sat on court for a long time. And I believe that Ms. Amy will agree with what I'm about to say. We hadn't fallen under $2 million in some time. Been quite a while. When you fall under that, if you have any problems during a year, you're in trouble. And we're sitting here now at $1,194,567, which is 800,000 below where I feel like we should be. With all the building that we've had in the last 2 or 3 years, 5 years, our base should be way bigger than that. We should have way more of this. But I've said it before, I'm gonna tell you again. 4 years, we've given raises, plus a large COVID check. It's never happened before in Brownsville County, not the years that I've been here. And I go back to the days of Ray Foley, which most of you don't even know him, maybe a few of you do. We can't keep spending more money than we're taking in. If house building was to stop right now, you'd be looking at a major tax increase. And maybe anyway, if we go ahead and go with this 2.5. Whether you want to listen to me about it or not, that's okay. I want to make a motion that we take the 2.5 out. Now, I'm putting that in front of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ford, you want to remove the 2.5% increase
Take
in
it
pay?
out at this time, yes.
You hear a motion on the table to remove the 2.5% increase as we're going through this budget? Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? You have a motion to remove the 2.5%. Ms. Amy has told us the 2.5% is roughly $350,000. We can get it more exact, but it's not going to be perfect because you have salary and hourly workers, so it can't be exact. Roughly 350,000 is what that number is. You have a motion on the
The
table.
thing that I see is, we give raises 4 years in a row. We can't keep doing it. Next thing's gonna happen, you're gonna have to raise taxes, pay wages. Now, when you have to go out there and tell your constituents that you've raised their taxes to pay raises, oh Lord, it'll get out. I'm telling you, it'll get out.
would there be a bonus or anything like that
Well,
instead of?
that's something we could look at. A bonus would be far better for our people that's working and making low wages. We went through this a few years ago under Mr. Carter. He did $1,000 bonus per year. Two things that does, it saves you money there, but the next year it's gonna save you money because it ain't already in your budget. When you put $360,000 in your budget this year, it's coming back next year, it's gonna be more than it is now. I'd much rather see us go with a flat rate to help them with that. The little man is making $4 an hour. What do you think he gets if you give him a 2.5% raise? Practically nothing. And that's a man's needing help. Not that everybody knows, but I'm saying that's the man that's really needing some help.
I mentioned last night before I do last call, do we hear a second from that? I mentioned last night that as of current, in my figures, we would be very close to, the last 4 years increase is just over $900,000 to property tax income. So the growth money of the county, as you might want to call it, is just over 900,000. Whereas wage increases is a little over 1.3 million. So there is straight facts there in that conversation. That's all I will put on the table. In other words, what I am saying is this: there is coming a point where we have to make a decision to either A, raise taxes to maintain or for those pieces, or B, make cuts. There are the case. Currently, I will say one thing, Mr. Ford, that I want to make sure we clear up. The five million that's going to 1.9, that's not all in this budget. There's a lot of grants in this budget. We're gonna bring those together.
$1,051, I can't find all that.
We're working that,
Scrolled everywhere.
we're working that together in grants, and we're gonna get that to you. That was one of the questions that I was mentioning
We've already found about two and a half, a little over 2.5 million of that three.
in grants.
Million in grant money already.
For all your elected officials, all those people got raises, and that comes back on the county, which we have no choice for that.
We can't manage that one. That was TCA code indicated. That's correct. You will note though, the budgeted amount for last year's fund balance was sitting around 1.8 million. So it did fall below 2 last year as well. It has been decreasing for a bit of time. When you increase a budget and you don't increase the amount of inflow to the county, past that, it has a deficit. That's without a doubt.
Well,
This year's, Mr. Ford, if you don't mind, this year's tax increase is about 190,000 property tax is the estimated gain this year. There's a shortfall right there if you see what we're saying. I'm not disagreeing with the numbers that he stated. I'm not sure at this point that it might be nice to see what that looks like on both ends. How much did that affect the bottom line for Miss Amy, if that's not too hard to do, before we just straight make a cut? See what it looks like and see what those numbers actually, what changes on that line when we make that cut.
I remember in the past, or any other year I'm on board, that we had to borrow money a few times to get through. I remember a lot of times the county court, we might have $150,000 fund balance. You don't remember those days, Clint, but your daddy would.
No, I don't even know when you borrowed from a student.
That's exactly right. And when you go to borrowing, you gotta recoup that plus enough to continue. I just don't wanna see us sit here and give away more than what we got coming in, and that's what we're doing. I mean, you just stated it.
That's a fair statement. That's exactly what I'm
I'm
trying
just
to.
trying to be honest with you. I'd like to give everybody a big raise, but I'm telling you, we can't do it.
The growth's not there. It's already been
Still been given away.
given away. If we continue with where we are, we would have to raise at some point just to cover those pieces. That's correct.
Just to cover
That is a
the
fair statement. In all my data I've looked through, that's a very fair statement. Mr. Ford had a motion that was not seconded. We will move on. It's not something we can't bring back. I will ask that Ms. Amy give us those numbers and we'll present those to you. And beside it, what would the change be? Maybe to save paper, we'll just put print them. That way you can see them. It's better to have in your hands. we'll look at those numbers as well. That'll be another piece out of tonight. Is there anything else before we move into the 141 school? If not, you should have received a printed copy there tonight. You had a emailed copy that came out on May the 3rd. It was when the whole budget was emailed. It came on May 3rd. It was at the end, started on page 60 of that budget. So it's been in our hands, but not in paper copy for a little while. I do apologize. We can get that next time if we need it. All right, at that point, Dr. Sadeko, would you like to present what we got in this budget? What are we seeing? Anything you want to talk about on it?
Let me sit here, you want to move up there?
Wherever you wish,
No,
sir.
no.
Right here sounds like a good place.
That's awesome.
Hot seat. It's a little different tonight in a different place. I apologize for that.
Everybody's got a budget, right?
Yeah, that's your budget.
I actually try to explain anything in there, just a couple reminders that, we've got, two of our board members here. And, our CFO, Angie Williams, and she can help us with any questions that you may have as well. The highlights or whatever that budget include this is, the funding formula from the state for schools changed a year ago. Mr. Ford, you remember it as the BEP, Basic Education Program.
Sure.
And it has been, revamped. And it is called TISA, T-I-S-A. So we're just the second year of TISA. And, it's supposed to be a student-based formula. So students who have like unique learning needs or need special services, they are funded at different rates. All students are not funded at the same time. If you're economically disadvantaged, you get 25% more. Or economically disadvantaged special ed students generate more, but they also are typically take more resources to educate. So one of the things in TISA is the governor's goal to, and it's a good goal, to increase minimum teacher salaries to up to $50,000 by fiscal year 2026. We're only 2 years away from that. This year, we gave a flat rate to our teachers of $2,000. We took them from 45, the starting salary from 45 to 47, leaving us with a $3,000 gap for the next 2 remaining years. So there's an increase in the TISA formula, but it's also, you've got to meet those mandatory teacher levels, not only the minimum, but the salary scale across. One of the things, as you know, several of you have been serving in this role for many years, is the state just doesn't give you money. They give you money, but they earmark it what it's assigned for. So when you see an increase in the TISA funding, then there's mandatory increases. So we've got to move. We've moved from 45 to 47 this year, and then we've got to move a minimum of $3,000 over the next 2 years. So we need to be aware of that. The second thing is that you may have heard about the Tennessee Literacy Success Act, and that all third graders have to pass their TCAP test in order to get promoted to the 4th grade. There are different pathways if that doesn't take place, but some of those requirements require a summer learning camp. Mr. Gov is actually the principal of the summer learning camp that we have during the summer. We have to provide those services for students, and we also have to provide students for tutoring throughout the school year. So that is required in TISA as well. There's also been, and our board is quite aware of this, is we've had an increase in enrollment over the past several years, but what's really been more impactful than the enrollment is the increased enrollment of special needs students. We have students who have physical needs, handicap needs. We actually even have 3 students that require to be tube fed 2 times a day at school, and that takes a lot of resources. We also have some more behavioral needs students, and cognitive needs students as well. Consequently, in our budget this year, we are adding a comprehensive classroom to the middle school. And at a minimum, that would be at least one teacher and one education assistant. And that's going to be close to $100,000 of reoccurring expenditures each and every year. As you also know, it's great, is we have had to spend more time, we have to spend more time and a lot more fiscal resources on school safety. We have our police force does an excellent job. They check doors and windows 3 times a day. But when they do not latch or something electrical doesn't work, we have to get a security system to come in here and work that field to maintain that type of security has put a strain on our budget and continue to do that over the years to come. And I guess one of the last things, or budget challenge that we have is if we've got any people who go to the football stadium, last year, maybe a year and a half ago, that we've got some serious sewage problems at the football stadium. That football field house was built in 1962-63. It is the second oldest building in our fleet of buildings. And it's got those old cast iron, Mr. Bell, you probably get through this more than anything. It's got those old cast iron pipes and it's rusty, corroding and flaking. And when you have a ball game, you have that kind of volume, it just catches, stops, backs up. And we've resorted not to use those restrooms anymore. We use the porta potties to be sure that we're not getting into any health problems and those types of things. So those are the big challenges that we're having in our budget. I think we have managed our budget well. We have a good fund balance, and we're not rich by any shape of imagination, but we've maintained a healthy fund balance over time, and we're proud of that. I think what's really, really important is a conversation that we've had over these many years is that we have tried to fund our certified licensed teachers, principals, and administrators using state funding, that being the BEP, the PZM. And what the conversation that we've had over these many years is that our non-certified employees, our teacher assistants, our bus drivers, our cafeteria staff, were more like county employees that they were non-certified. So what we've tried to do, that's worked well for us for many years, is that we tried to fund our teachers through the state funding mechanism, and then even raises or anything for our non-certified. We have tried to do that with the county and local funds. And the conversation that we've had is, you know, our non-certified, our employees are very similar to your county employees. The challenge that we're having is that the state has put these mandatory increases, and this is not a problem, I can say like this, but the challenge for us is the state is giving us more state funds, but they're saying you've got to raise the level of teacher pay and fix charges along that goes with that. So all of a sudden, it's a good thing. So we start to see our certified, our teacher salaries start to increase. But now that gap or that chasm between our non-certified and our certified teachers begin to widen. So the idea is that presents the conversation that we're having is, you know, we need funding to help give our non-certified people a raise on a regular basis. I met with the mayor the last 2 years and worked with the school board. Is that as we come to you this year, the only thing that we ask, we're not asking for any additional funds. All we're asking is for our growth funding. Is the same piece of pie that we had last year, that we have the same piece of pie this year.
On your balance sheet on page 3, you show 16,465,000 estimated revenue, and in 25, you showed 14 million. Are you getting $2 million less?
What page you're on?
Page 3, your total estimated revenue. You're showing 16,465,988, 23-24, that's this year. But next year, you're only showing 14,505,266.
There's a 1.9 bond funding that was in there.
I've just been saying, the roof and the,
That room.
if you look up on the column 48,130, that's 1.9 million of that. So take
Yeah.
1.9 million away from that 16, because that was a revenue.
That's what it is.
Yes, sir.
Good enough.
It's not gonna be all of that, but it is the majority of that. Yes, sir.
Good bit of it.
Yes, sir.
And our only ask is that we just get the same piece of pie as we had last year. That encompasses two things, that, whatever the value of the penny that increases is, I think it's going from 35,285, I think, to 35,368. That's what we calculated, I believe, Angie. And then at the same rate of 49.1%. So that equates to, and it's Angie's math, not mine, so I know it's correct, you know what I'm saying? Is that equates to only, we're only talking about $48,470. So that's all that we're asking for is our growth fund, which equates about 48,470. And it's more principle than anything, as the county grows, as we get, is the value of the penny, is how, you know, as our county income grows, that we grow too. What does $48,000 mean? Well, $48,000 is 2 educational assistants. And as we get more special needs children, you know, we can provide that service, you know, in a little bit better way. So that's the only thing that we come to you is that we can manage, and we'll go through that budget, any questions we have, but on the,
Look on page 14, I have one other question. Bottom line, showing an estimated 22-24 fund balance of 7,443,000. And then next year, you're showing a fund balance of $1,437,000, $6 million difference.
yes, well, there's two things, big things in there. Number one is the elementary school that we have signed a contract on, and we're gonna start work on that, so that'll come out of there. And then we've also set aside 1.4 million to let's see, hold on, let me tell you what it is. 1.4 billion, 1.1 million on line 706 building construction. That is the estimated work that we might do on the field house. So
Okay.
one of the things, Mr. Ford, if 4.1. What did I say?
I was-
Oh, I'm
It's
dyslexic.
4.1.
4.1.
So that lines this up down here more like an elevator.
Miss Angie,
Yes.
7.
I just want to be, where is line, 706, where is that line item at this budget? Do you know what
Page
page
14.
706 is?
76,100, 706.
706, okay.
Back page.
There's 4.1 million, okay. Is that 4.1 million including the 1.9 million that was
Portion of it.
discussed? What portion of that?
The 900, let's say the 4.1 is a million, is inside of that.
So the million inside of that. So that's the million that's already on that loan that we're showing.
And the 900,000 is inside of the 707 line, building improvements, the 1.2 million. That's the road line. It come in at 1.2 million, it's supposed to be.
Okay,
That's 707, right?
Correct.
Yep.
So this is an add-on to your, what, elementary school?
The roof is at the elementary school. We're putting the same roof that we put on the middle school.
Okay.
Just like-
It hasn't, and that middle school roof had leaked since we put it on. I just-
Good.
oh man, I wish you would have said
What's
that.
that?
I wish you would have said that.
Did you see
But you're
it
right.
today?
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. We don't want it leaking, but it's done very well. I agree. It's the same roof. It's the same roof inside the conversation from last year's meeting here that we actually got on the phone here, if you'll remember. It just, I think that project, things take time getting it into progress. It just got funded. It's rolling along.
It's been slow with architects, fire marshals.
That's part of building. That's part of building.
Question. So are the non-certified getting any type of raise?
Is that what presently we've built in a 5% raise for all non-certified. And that's worth a whole lot more than $48,000.
We didn't know what y'all would be getting, so.
Yes, sir.
On, page 5, 429, instructional supplies and material.
Hold on, let me get there. Yes, sir. All right.
It went from 30,000,
Which line you on?
429.
429. Vocational, that's vocational, is that vocational?
Yes, sir.
Angie, can you help me with that?
That's the ISD grant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a state grant. Your mother actually manages that.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never built a greenhouse.
Huh?
They built a greenhouse.
Okay. Okay.
Those are state funds.
The revenue line item that corresponds to that is on page 2 of the professional 4279, it's $649,000. Left in that grant, but for the summer school year.
$46,790 other vocation above total state educational funds.
And Mr. Billy, back on that, page 14, on 706, we were talking about 1.4 million. Is,
The 4.1,
4.1. What did I say?
you said 1.4, which one are we talking about?
4.1.
Okay,
Line item.
that's a big difference, the only reason I stopped.
But for dyslexic people, you gotta turn that,
Okay.
you gotta translate that.
I understand.
All right, so what I'm saying on that field house is, that's the highest estimate that we got from our architect. And, we hope that it would be lower than that, but the issue is that the present field house is in a floodplain. And codes will not let us add to the footprint of that building.
You gonna tear it down or you
No,
gonna do
what we wanted to do was we wanted to, the restrooms got work because of plumbing.
it? Right,
So what we wanted to do was to gut that field house, cut the concrete out
yeah,
and re-plumb the whole thing and actually, and then anytime you touch it, you gotta make it handicap accessible.
right.
So we would have to make it, the men's and women's, we would enlarge those, we would make it handicap accessible, and then we would move all the football operations into a new field house facility on high ground. And if you went down there last night, that high ground didn't flood. I mean, it's, it's up there where those trees are, so we would move the team in that facility up there. And then once we got them on the high ground and could move them out, then we could gut the existing field house and expand that into usable restrooms that are handicap accessible.
Mr. Ford, what we're discussing there is actually what, if you remember, the county took on the $1 million loan for the roof last year. The school board took 900,000 out of that last year for the restrooms, I believe, was
Yes.
that piece on a roof, on that same loan. If you remember, that's why it's 1.9. It's sitting in their account here. The pieces he spoke of, that was really on last year's, it's just coming into this year's budget of where we are, is where it's flowing. It seems that it's come up a little bit in cost, but I guess what has.
Mr. Bill, I also want to try to say, and I'm not an architect, I'm not a construction guy, I don't know a lot more about that than I do. We just ask our architect to highball. We just say, look, I really prefer it to be high than low and come back. So that was the thing that we asked him to do.
If you remember, that was the facility that our board chair spoke on and stating that was going to be a multi-use, multi-sport use at weight room and area there is what that was building. And I think a football locker room on that. I think that's the way it was told from our chair.
And the training.
And the trainer office, that's correct. And an office for the trainer. Multi-sport weight room, is the way it was worded, I think, last year. And then a football locker room, is what we're talking about. But these are actually pieces that were budgeted on last year. So it's in here because it hadn't got put together. That's one thing that makes that, one part of what makes that 7 million, fund balance look so strong, if we're talking here in this case. Ms. Angie, where are you coming up with the 48,000 that he's, my math's missing. I'm coming up with about 52,698.
The numbers that we were given to budget and the property tax value of, that we got on ours of 1,598,945. We were told the budget 1,550,000, so that's the difference of 48,000.
Give me that line again, sorry.
Property tax. Taking
598, and you put 48,000 there. You're saying it was 1,550,000.
Yes.
That's what we had approved
Yes.
as that's what was approved from Finance Committee, if you remember back in March, to set their revenues. That's something that has to happen. We have to state, here's what your revenues are. We did that in March, sent it on to them. They're sending it back to us, asking for, $48,945.
And Mr. Gunn, may I ask, that's the only ask of the.
It looks like this year's estimate is 1.6 coming in already. I got 1.653 is what the estimate is. It's already, this ask is $54,000 less than that, if I'm looking at it right.
That's what we estimate to come in, yes, because we're collecting above the 8%.
Correct. So. You see the budget you have in front of you.
I would like to make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve,
Second.
second. Motion to approve and a second on this budget that's put in front of you. Seconded by Ms. Overman. Sorry, I'll try to repeat those. I know it's a little different here looking. Is there any other discussion before we go to a vote on this motion? Yeah, I got you. That's what I'm saying. Is there any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. On the floor. I will state that, and I've stated this each night as we look at these budgets and these pieces, and I'm gonna continue to. I did a little bit of workup. I hope some of y'all did as well. Over the last 10 years, the 141 school has grown at 49.1%. Over the last 5 years, what did I do with my numbers? Over the last 5 years, the 141 school has only grown at 9.19% from the county's draw. 9.19% from the county's draw from 2019 to this requested piece. That is the growth of the county's fund to the school. I think we will see some others that are quite a bit higher than that as we go forward. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. No other discussion. Is there, all right, let's go to the vote. All those in favor, let me know by stating aye. Any opposed? It is favorable.
Mr. Chairman, could I just say a word?
You may.
This is not necessarily just about schools, but what I'd just like to say is, of course, I'm someone who sat on the commission for 20 years and sat on the budget committee. I think 5 years, and you got to thank the staff, and I admire you for doing it. Somebody has to do it. I just, Mr. Ford is right. We have fixed costs that's going to continue to go up. Labor is one of those. You hear all the time, I know Mr. Bailey does the ambulance and all that stuff, you know, it's hard to find those people. And Grant, even though he's in another county, knows that it's hard to find sheriff deputies, police officers, and all that. And those types of salaries are gonna continue to go up to get people willing to do those jobs. And, the thing I want to make the committee aware of, and it's not immediate, but at some point in time, we're having the same issue finding teachers. You know, finding certified, qualified teachers. So far, we've been able to contain those funds within the allocation of TISA. Now that it's TISA, we've been able to do that. I don't know how much longer in the future we're going to be able to do that. Most counties give money, part of their money, and Travis County gives some to the teacher allotment, that goes in to their salaries. If Travis County has not increased their portion for teacher pay since the second year I was principal. And y'all know all of us, that's been a long time. The point I'm trying to make is, in order to continue to attract people, just like the sheriff department, just like the hands and everything, that's something you're gonna have to look at in the future in order to do that. And the other thing I'd like to say is one thing that, I'd like to make a suggestion to you. As someone who serves on the planning commission, sees the growth and stuff that we have and everything. I'm not sure why we don't ask more of these people moving in to help. Trying to think of the word, but to help with the cost of their moving in. You know, schools are gonna continue to grow because people are moving into the county. And the more that they move in, the more teachers, the more classrooms, books, everything you gotta have. Sheriff's deputies, ambulance people, the more it goes, you know, that's just part of growth. I understand why we haven't raised the impact fee to help cover some of that growth. Why that impact fee is still sitting at, I think it's $1,500. When I myself, I would want to raise it to 5,000. Like the other counties around us, we're the cheapest place to live. That's why, one reason why they're coming here. Let them help forego some of those costs that the local people are having to pick up. You know, just a suggestion, you know, that's not a tax increase, that you're not making somebody pay that money. If I'm looking at a house out here and I don't want to pay that, all I gotta do is say, I'm gonna buy that house. They ain't gotta buy it. They don't have to pay it. It's their choice to pay. And I would just suggest that that's something, go into your 101 account. You would manage that as you see fit with wherever the growth happens to be. That's where you would move it to. I'm sure on a year-to-year basis, you know. Just a suggestion, just something for you to think about.
One question, I don't know if you want to answer or
I'll
not.
be glad to.
Are we better off with TISA than we were with BEP?
I think the jury's still out on that, Jerry, because I hope y'all remember. The one thing I always remember that they say, and I know you remember, you're not talking. When the governor, our current governor, got TISA passed, he forgave the whatever extra money county commissions might have to come up with for 4 years. Well, he's gonna be out, that means he's gonna be out of office when it could hit. So you got 2 more budget seasons after this. And nobody has a clue what the state, what the new governor, there'll be a new governor, requires counties to put in on their school system, just for their school system, their portion of the school system. You know, but you remember that, don't you, Jerry? We talked about it.
Very well.
And, you know, it's just, it's a guess.
So the school's out on him getting away with, supplying kids to go anywhere they want to.
Well, so far, for this year, why we would support the opportunity to give our state tax dollars, I'm not talking about our local, our state tax dollars to send, people from already well-off families the private school, $7,000 each to go. I don't understand, you know. So, I hope that answers your question. I
It
agree.
does. It does, but if that happens, it's gonna hurt our schools tremendously.
Well, because they're gonna, where's that money eventually gonna come from?
All right, y'all, listen,
I
I appreciate
just
it.
wanted to answer
Yes, sir.
your question.
100%, I appreciate it. We got a lot of pieces on the agenda. And right now, Yes, sir. Right now, there's a lot of ifs on that, and we can't answer those. I'm not trying to cut.
No.
If we want to talk about this budget, this piece, let's talk about it. But other than that, time is worth the money. So, I appreciate your discussion on that. I'm not trying to cut any piece of that off, but time continues on.
Consider my suggestion.
I figured that up on 50 homes. That's what, $175,000 of increase to the county budget. It might be worth looking at that piece of an understanding. You may. Speak to the budget, Rick.
Yes, county, school board, but I just want to tell you, thank you for a favorable, thing. I want to get off on something Mr. Gully said. As you said, in 5 years, ours has only been 9%.
Right.
We've grown less than most of your other departments are gonna grow. So I really appreciate you backing Dr. Satterfield. I will tell you, as far as a superintendent justifying money, he's not gonna ask for anything that we don't need. He's done a super job. You can look at his audits, never had a finding on it. Okay, so he is doing more with our money than most county departments are, and he told us first day I came in, he said, whatever you do, you can get rid of me, don't get rid of Andy. Okay, and nobody's that in back, but the other night I sat there in a meeting and other departments were wanting more people to help with payroll. We have 190 employees and one lady does, all by herself. And she runs the grants, and she runs this. So Dr. Satterfield has the right people and the money going to the right direction. I just want to thank y'all for giving us that, because we're going to grow. And back to what Mr. Gully said, I mean, we do not have an absorbent amount. And I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right, at that point, 141 schools has moved with a favorable recommendation. I'll get Miss Amy will work those numbers. So that will now change a little bit here, folks. What that just changed, just to make sure everybody knows, if you look at the sheet of paper that's got your tax rate on it, it's got all the 10 years worth on that piece. If you want to go look at, mine's got a lot of writing in it, you're right. Fortunately, I write in a manner that most people can't read it, so, so as we look, that changed the 47.65%. I'm sorry, cents, the point 4765 will now be 0.491 is what he asked for, I believe. Is that correct in that? I can't get to 48,000. I'm sorry, y'all. I can get 52,000 and some change, but I can't get to 48,000.
0.49.
It's 0.4914.
Last year it was 4914, but
Now I can change it to exactly what they're doing, but
they asked for the growth money. I think the movement was for the growth money, so it'll be about 52,000. That's what I'm getting at. It's going to be a little over that 48, about 4,000 over that. Is what it really is. What they asked for was the same percentage as last year. I don't know where they got the,
So our percentage would still be 24.7. Is that right,
it'll be 49.14 cents of the property tax.
and our percentage?
We'll see where that rolls out when it gets done.
Okay,
Gotcha.
so 101 is gonna be 47.75, get everything back to where it was.
Hello. It's gonna be what?
General fund, the tax rate is 29.491. The percentage of tax rate is 47.75. And the final net estimated collection is 3,088,249. That's for general fund.
Somebody with us. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Amy. All right, moving next with me, let me get back on track here. We are turning, if you will, on your, back to your regular packet, page 28. We will be looking at the rescue squad. I know forgive me here, Mr. Beatty, you have a rescue squad now, right? I know the individual that had it last year is no longer with us, correct?
Like, you have a replacement, but, yeah, I do it.
So who is presenting this budget?
Sorry,
Who is presenting the budget?
me.
Oh, who,
Oh, any more?
say again,
Any more?
presented the budget to this budget, okay. I know you're going overboard tonight, but he presented the budget. Okay. My first question would, as I'm looking at the budget, there were quite a few items budgeted in this last year's budget that have by no means been expended. Budgeted 67,000 and have spent 22,000, roughly 21,700.
So we still have this 20 down there, which this was, like you said, Daniel Harris did this budget last year, so.
Yes, sir.
He kind of, do what he wants with it, but we're gonna get this computer here this year, I'll let.
No.
So most of this stuff here, we probably can pull out this 20, 40 years over. The card membership, all this other stuff, background check, all the other things already been paid, repairs to the bathrooms already been done.
What computer are you referencing?
For them to do their run tickets up to their building.
The $500 computer?
$500.
Okay.
So that's gonna be in this current fiscal year, or talking 25?
No, this year, we'll get it this year. I'll probably-
So we can scratch that 500?
Correct, let's take that 500 out for next year.
So the 1,500 on that other equipment would go away?
I think we'll keep the 1,500, we'll get rid of this 20 down the bottom. How about that?
Like gone?
Well,
It's already gone,
we'll spend, it's still there, we haven't spent it all. No, it's still
but
there,
it's not in the budget for,
not next year, we'll not be in next year, but correct.
So
Right.
How much of it has been spent?
Not very much, I think we've bought a couple tools out of it, so just a few $100 out of the 20. And we won't use that whole 20, by any means, it's fine.
and we're scratching 20, but we really only took 10 out of the budget, so we've increased some other items. And I would like to note that in the 23, I know it kind of looks like we're staying in the line, but in 23, we put $40,000 in this budget for a vehicle, 39,744, just to make sure everybody understands that. That was actually increased to this budget. This budget was running around less than $30,000 for a long time there.
The biggest increase is gonna be just per diem money. Or,
Why is the increase on the per diem?
just, since when Daniel took over, it got reorganized, it's maintained its stability. We're doing more calls, is
What is the amount per call?
$30. I think there's a proposal to move it to 50 at some point potentially, but
That's not here.
that's not reflected in this, if that had been brought up and discussed yet. I don't think we've had a meeting yet with emergency services that we could discuss it.
Okay. There's another, line item on the repairs to the office in the bathroom. I thought we had already allocated money to redo that.
Can you name the line item you're on?
I believe
335,
Everybody see 335, which is maintenance and repair, which does say repairs to bathroom. It was budgeted last year for repairs to that bathroom at $1,000. I don't think any repairs have taken place from what I've been told.
well, Cliff and Emma came and fixed the vast majority of the bathrooms, so I don't know that there's a great need to do a tremendous amount. The bathroom's not used often anyways for the most part, so.
So we can slash that line item to 0. That would be taking,
You'll leave 500 in it just in case we need to do some other items.
I believe something in there.
Yeah.
is that right? Well, we didn't, okay,
Let's leave it at 1,000. I think it's-
$1,000. But it would just be prepared for the building. I get what you're saying. Yes, I understand. Yeah, now I'm with us.
Okay, so I have another question. On 355, why did our hotel mileage and meals go from 500 last year up $1,000? How much traffic are we getting?
We've had several people request some classes for next year. And that would be the pay for them. I think you've got 5 people that want to go to different classes, and the cost of class plus travel, somewhere to stay. They're all multiple, like 2 to 3 days long.
What will that benefit us in terms of, those individuals with this class?
But just like yesterday, it was flooding, so they're only able to slip one fishing class, so Gallatin had 20 slip water rescues yesterday. And we had, Rankin Road, Old Fed, I mean, we have multiple places around here. We pull people out of cars already, so people that had that certification in the past, they kind of declined and moved on, so trying to refurbish that. We've got thousands of dollars of slip water equipment we got, and we don't have very many people able to use it.
That sounds pretty reasonable.
I was just curious.
Mhm.
On this uniform line.
I was fixing to head there.
Okay.
Line item south, in-service staff, sorry, no, right, other charges, I believe is the tank.
There's a uniform, 451,
Uniform for my,
I think it's
I
25.
thought maybe,
Yeah, I think we dropped that to 500.
Class B uniforms.
We're not gonna do Class B. So we'll just go with $500 just for what they're getting out.
That's not maybe the one last year, right?
Well, we got turnout gear, for PPE, so
They-
we did get that.
But if you remember, this is the one last year that was asked for the shirts and those pieces,
Shirts and pants and.
but it has not been bought. That's what it's saying, yeah.
You taking that out, George?
500.
They got it.
Oh,
So we were taking the computer off as well. Is that
We're
correct?
gonna buy that.
Because that'll be out of this year.
Correct.
So that will go to 0.
Sure, this one.
So right now we're paying $2,000 off this, correct?
we took that took 3,000. Is that what you're asking?
Mhm.
We took 2,000 off of the
2,000 off the repairs.
repairs, 500, we went,
Yeah, we took
Yeah.
2,000 again, that's 4. Yeah. 4,500 is currently off the bottom. Communication equipment at $5,000. None has been spent in quite a while.
That was a particular type of radio that Harris wanted to get. I think we just take that off altogether.
Entirely remove that 5,000. I remember the conversation. It was about a $5,000 radio.
Everybody's got radios. We're good. This is a multi-band radio. We have a multi-band radio that we purchased a few years ago with the grant, so this is, so I think we can do with that for now.
Thank you, sir.
So is our per diem is line item or?
316.
Yes, is that staying at 20? That just seems kind of excessive to me.
We're already about 18,000 already for the year.
We're estimated at 130
February.
February.
We pay out on the 1st of December.
Gotcha.
So from December to today, we're at 147 calls, roughly 3 or 4 persons per call, so we're right around 18,000.
You're estimating a total cost of 18,000 on this year?
Yes, that's a ballpark, because sometimes 3 people show up, sometimes 1 person shows up, sometimes 5 people show up. So our estimate's 3 or 4 on average for a typical rescue call.
Is there always a need for 3 to 5 people?
Typically, yes. I mean, it's,
I'm just,
yeah, I mean, we wouldn't need any more for sure, unless it's, like last night, everybody was out last night.
Right.
Typically response.
Well understood last night.
So you're fully staffed now?
Well, rescue, yeah, we get the ambulance service.
Yeah.
We're getting closer.
Do we know what furniture and fixtures are? I know there was a talk to build, work on the building, but nothing. Oh, sorry, I apologize. I said that a minute ago, 7-Eleven,
Does it have anything in that one?
2,500.
Oh, I see it. Let's take that to 5.
500. removing 2,000. It brings your bottom total to 46,426. Great.
Mhm.
Oh, man, okay. Any other discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Have a motion to approve by Ms. Overman, a second. With changes, brings your bottom line item to $46,426. For the rescue squad's budget, it is, motion to approve by Ms. Overman. And a second by Ms. Atwood. Do I hear any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye for a favorable recommendation. Aye. It is favorable. All right, trying to keep things together here. We were on page 28. We will now just turn emergency management, EMA, page 29. You are looking at 54,490. 54,490. I believe this is Director of Emergency Management, which covers EMS at this point, and you have somebody for EMA at this. All right, there we go.
I do need to note that his salary was incorrect on the list, so the first line item under his function should be 78,864.
This line item should be
78,864.
864. What does that bring to the bottom?
And that brings the bottom to 102,847 with the benefits calculated.
That increases benefits. So what's the benefit line item move to? What does the benefit line item move to?
Social Security is at 4890. Retirement, 4850. And Medicare, 1144.
Is everyone okay? We need to go back over those numbers. Okay, bringing the total at current at 102,847.
You happy with this budget? Then
Yes.
motion to approve.
Motion approved. Seconded. Have a motion for a favorable recommendation. We have a motion from Ms. Overman. Seconded by Mr. Cochran. Any other discussion on 54,490? If not, all those in favor, please let it be known by stating aye. Aye. It is, any opposed? It is favorable. That gets us. There. Your next one, we will move. It's okay, I'm gonna go out of order here for a second and move on to ambulance fund. Actually, we can go and do it. We'll do volunteer fire and then we'll come back to ambulance. That's the order we've got it in. Sorry about that. Did I miss something?
Did we do the 5416, the medical examiner? I'm just asking because it's on that same page.
We have not. You wanna go back and look at it? We can do it right now.
Do the clone.
Sorry, Mr. Ritter.
We can look at 5416 right now. It's gotten more expensive for autopsies. But we have not added additional funds to it in a while, so.
Mhm. Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. We went on and took this on tonight's. Have a motion and a second. Motion by Atwood, second by Cochran. We're on 54,610 County Coroner Medical Examiner, approving it at the recommended $39,000. Is everybody clear? If no discussion, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is favorable.
Sorry. I just.
Good catch. I like your catch. Thank you. catch more of those along the way, it'd be great. Ones that we can do at that point will be fine to do. Our next one up, we are looking at the fire department. You will move back a couple of pages. It is page 26 is where we will start. It's on the very bottom is where it starts on page 26. The majority of this is actually on page 27. So you'll be on two pages, 26 and 27. It starts at the very bottom, 54,310. And then the majority of this is on the bottom here. I do want to start by saying, before we let it go any further in the conversations, you see the requested budget at $211,000. If I've looked through this correctly, there is no new equipment such as a new vehicle, new pieces that in this piece, other than just turnout gears that we always have that type of equipment, no large purchase. And I do want to mention that in 2 years' time, that is an increase of over 100%. This budget has doubled in 2 years' time. I think we need to make sure we hear that as a committee. The requested budget will have doubled more than 100% is what I want to say in 2 years' time. When I stated the 9% earlier to the school budget, that was for a 5-year time, I do know, but this is for a 2-year time. All right, is there anything in here you would like to discuss?
We had increased the per diems, the contributions. We requested that the pay move from $30 a call to $50 a call. The firemen have not had a change of their pay since mid-year 2016. They had been static at $30 a call. Prior to that, they had been reimbursed or paid $25 a call. So it's been at that 25 and then 30 for the last 8 years. No change in 8 years. We are like rescue, where we pay out at the beginning of December for all of the calls during the year. So we end up kind of catching 2 budgets with this. This pay increase, if it will go through, would start July 1 with the higher rate, and the firemen would be paid $30 a call for the calls they've made from December to June, end of June. The second thing that I had increased.
Let's talk on that one first, please.
Gotcha.
I did run some numbers on that piece myself, and I hope everyone heard. I agree, people need to be increased pay. I'm not saying that we don't need to increase here a bit from 2016 to now. We're talking for this budget, we're 7 years of time that it has not been increased at all. I think there's a need for increase before I go to talking this conversation. If I'm figuring it out correctly, if we go to $50, that is a 67% increase over a 7-year time period. That's an increase of $20. That's 67% over that amount of time. That's 8-point-something% per year. If you want to go divide that out, that's a pretty strong increase. I do also, if I heard him correctly, and I appreciate him being honest here, 100%, he's upfront with us, and I appreciate that greatly. I want you to know that. This 100,000 will not cover next year's. What I mean by that is this: the $50 would just be getting us from July to December. So next year's would cost an additional piece. Is everybody hearing what I'm saying? It's paid out in December, but the whole next year would be at $50. So what would that be? I can't estimate it based on those calls, but it's going to be another. It's going to be higher. Let's say that part. I do want to mention, again, in 2 years' time, we're already looking at over a 100% increase in cost in this department. I'm not saying it's not needed. I'm just saying we are seeing a huge increase in cost. We need to keep our eyes on dollars.
What is the reason for that much increase?
Replacing a lot of equipment that needed to go through updates. Several pieces of our equipment have to either be recertified or completely replaced at certain time intervals. Turnout gear is one of those big expenses. We can only use turnout gear for a total of 10 years. This year alone, I have about 15 sets that have completely aged out. Our SCBA bottles also have to be recertified and retested every 10 years. That's a pretty substantial cost. So we run into some things, Jerry, that we have to change out. They may not be completely worn out, but age gets us.
Not to interrupt, Mr. Baylor, but did we not just update some of that SCBA?
You've got a few new pieces, but this current year, we had to go through and retest all of the bottles that we had.
Okay,
You bought a few new ones, but we had to go through and retest about 16 or 17 of the bottles that we have.
okay. And I guess, jumping to my next question is the maintenance and repair for the service vehicles. We're going up.
Line
10.
338.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
You're good.
You are, yes. And the reason for that is the age of the vehicle. Your frontline fire truck, engine 8, is 20 years old. Your second line fire truck, which is engine 7, is 34 years old.
Okay.
It costs more, you have more breakdowns, you have more issues with aging equipment. That equipment is not completely worn out, but a lot of times age issues creep in and get you.
I thought we bought a new one a year or two back.
You bought a tanker. That came in 22.
Do we know what the surrounding county can pay for call?
I have not checked that, was not asked to, so I did not check. I will check for you.
I think an increase, I like the way we're thinking it, an increase, I think is a fair move. If you increase it, I'll give you some numbers. I sit here and play for a minute with some numbers. If you increase it $6 to $36, you'd be increasing it 2.5% per year over 8 years. If you increased it to $10, you'd be increasing it 4.1% year over year for 8 years. That's where we're at from 2016, which was the number mentioned. I'll say it this way, if I'm budgeting and asking, I'm gonna come ask you to buy me the nicest boat I can get. But I'm gonna come back and say, hey, I'll take this rowboat, it's okay. I'm being honest with you in that case, folks.
How many calls a year do y'all average roughly?
Last year, we had 162.
December to December?
Yes. That's reasonably normal. The last few years, we've responded to a few more mutual aid rec calls than if you look back 5 to 6 years than we were doing then. But 130 to 160 calls, typical year.
Are any of those calls that, let's say there is a fire, there is an issue and there's an insurance, does the ambulance department can bill the situation for a patient care or something of that nature? Is there any billing that can take place with inside to generate?
Possibly, it depends on the homeowner's insurance. Some homeowners' policies do allow for, payment to a fire department. There are some departments, some jurisdictions where fire service is done through a subscription, basically. You pay an annual fee to be covered. And a lot of times in those jurisdictions, if you had a call, then your insurance would allot a certain amount of that insurance recovery to go toward the fire department. We've never looked at doing something like that here, but some insurance companies do make that allowance within the policy.
Just before you do, I might would also state, as we're talking about the per diem call piece here, I think Mr. Beatty mentioned this in EMA, that they will have it on the plate to move to 50. I think I heard you say that, but it hadn't been pushed through. So I'm sure if we move one, we need to.
We've always
everybody
treated
understand that.
rescue the same as we've treated fire on pay.
Yes.
So whenever we move one group, we move the other group too.
Do you know what's surrounding rescue with that, surrounding counties?
I don't, because coming from Sumner County, the volunteer departments and career departments.
That's the,
Right.
Mr. Ford.
What about your ratings? You ever got your rating back up?
No, it will not change until, the next time ISO certifies us. We were visited in 2022. And the rating dropped to a class 7 here in town. It takes at least 3 years of data. That's what they review. To go back through a full review again.
What was the main reason you lost at the start with? And my understanding is that caused people's insurance to go up.
It very likely did change their homeowner's insurance. One of the big issues that I saw on the scoring, I was not involved in that from the ISO standpoint. Your previous chief was handling that, but we scored very poorly under training component during that time period. We lost lots of points compared to what points we had under previous reviews. The last one that I was involved in was, I believe it was 2018. We were a class 6 and we missed being a class 5 by about half a point of score. And we had a plan in place to move us to a class 5. And then we changed.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you explain what it is that you're talking about, the ISO?
ISO is a very complicated formula system that about half of the insurance companies use to rate the fire department
That's right.
and rate what your homeowner's insurance will be set at. Some insurance companies simply go by a distance from the fire station. How far is your house from the station? If you're outside the 5-mile range, you pay a higher premium than somebody closer to the station. The other half use this complicated formula called ISO. They come in, they look at your communications, your radio communications, they look at your water department, they look at your fire department equipment, they look at your training, they look at all of these different aspects that relate to the fire department and its performance. And they give it a numerical score. And fire departments or fire ratings are called classes. The best you could be would be a class 1. Some of your larger urban cities will be a 1 or a 2, where they've got full-time staff, lots of new equipment. Most of your rural departments, like us, will typically be class 5, class 6, or class 7. And that's where the scoring lies. but they're looking at all aspects of how that fire department operates. And you'll have an evaluator that will come and spend a day or two with the chief and go through all of the records that you can substantiate what they're looking for.
Does that answer that
But
question?
we lost a large chunk on the training component, that particular year.
Class seven,
right.
this is the low end.
Guys, I understand, we've got an answer to that question, Mr. Thomas.
Well, is it necessary for every time the fire department go out, is it the rescue squad to go with them?
Well,
I have more complaint over that than anything.
most of the rescue members are also firemen. But when we go to a fire, we're taking fire members with us.
So they just show up.
Well, unless they're called for, some of the calls are requesting both fire and rescue members to be present. It depends on the incident. Car wrecks are more likely to request rescue and fire and EMS. But if it's strictly a fire call, then fire is what's going out.
Well, now it's 9 so I've seen them say that they come up there and while y'all fight with the fire, they're out there sitting on the tree or whatever, they ain't doing nothing. So are you right to pay them to the same for doing nothing?
But rescue's not under my command.
Well, who's it?
I don't know what the rescue goes, they need fires, if they're not requested.
Okay.
Sounds like something we need to get a few answers to for on that. I would like to, we're kind of an interesting spot here. I've got a few suggestions I'd like to make myself if nobody else wants to make them. Mr. Gregory's not here. Where does this committee go, want to elect you have a question before I go there, okay?
Communication equipment,
Line item
708.
708, communication equipment, $5,000.
Is there any way that can be reduced, or why are we keeping it? Because it doesn't look like that we've actually used.
We have not used a great deal at this point.
Is there a need? I mean, is there a great deal like old equipment is, I guess what I'm asking, Mr. Baylor.
We have simply left it at the same level as where it had been before. When we start buying radio equipment, each handset will cost us over $1,000. A truck radio will cost us about $1,500. So 5,000 doesn't go very far when you're stretching it like that. These are not $100 units.
No. I just wanted to make sure that was just another note that
And
I.
again, if we don't need it, it'll roll back into the fund balance.
If we put it out there, though, it's part of our budget. It shows the same.
I would like to make a recommendation, if I may. Or would you like to continue with your thoughts, Mr. Goldman?
I'll take your recommendation if you wish to, but I do have a few that I may follow up on.
You go ahead.
I don't like to speak from a chair's position, so would y'all be in favor, would it be okay with the committee if I asked one of us to elect a per diem at this point? It's not per diem, it's a pro temp chair, pro temp for the chair, or if I ask Mr. McCall if he's willing to take it. I don't like speaking from the chair's position, I'm just being honest with
Just
you.
let them interview.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking y'all what y'all wish to do. That's why I'm asking, exactly. Do you mind chairing for just a second?
Can you chair for just a second?
It's a lot to it.
We're not like you, Rob. No, you're out.
Legal for me to take care.
I think if the committee has said you to be that piece, yes, it's legal. Mayor, may I speak? Or Chair, may I speak? Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I would like to recommend that we move the line item 316 per diem to 65,000 at $40 per call I did that based on last time's call. It would come up to $65,000. It would bring that to 65,000 in need. Is there something wrong with that? I'm sorry.
No, that was what I had.
Oh, okay. I would ask that we move, 336 to 25,000 from 30,000 preventative maintenance. That's $5,000 increase.
I'm sorry, I missed all.
I'll slow down.
Go back up to your first.
Moving the per diem call to $40, which is 4.4% per year over the term of 8 years.
It's currently 25, is that right?
It's currently 30.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
sorry.
That's all right. I appreciate you asking. It's currently 30. It's moving. It hasn't changed since 2016. That would move it to 40. And 65,000 would, according to what was spent last year, if we had the same number of calls, 65,000 would cover that. Now that will go up next year, if you hear what I'm saying, based on the number of 40 would be the whole year. And then, the line item 338 to 25,000. And line item 709 to 1,000. And I believe that will bring us to about 165, 166 something, I can't.
701,
Some of that is nothing there.
nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry, up once, listen, I apologize, 708, keep my,
Go give me another.
okay, look at him, there we go, I like it. 708 communication equipment, I did say the right one, but not the
So
right
you're
number,
saying communication of
to $1,000.
2,000.
And how much you increasing per call?
The per call is $40, not 50. And that will cover that in that.
What about the other equipment? Can we cut that back some, dude?
I have not seen a line item other equipment, if you want to put, if you,
It's right at the bottom, 790.
it had been 30,000 last year, so it hadn't asked for an increase.
I don't know that we can cut any on,
It looks like we're spending 30 this year and
I've already deferred some purchases to the next budget cycle because we didn't think we had enough money to go around this time.
I mean.
We
turnout
spent all of the 30 plus an Enbridge grant on turnout gear. That's what that was earmarked for.
I don't think that.
Turnout gear I'm buying is $42,000.
Yeah, it's been spent, it's been budgeted at 30, it's been spent at 30. I think that we got.
We haven't gotten the invoice yet, but it's coming.
Yes, sir. I think that one's got to stay first.
Jamie, can you give us our bottom figure with,
With those recommendations, it is sitting at 167,067.
Is that your motion?
is that your
That was
motion?
my motion, yes.
That's, I'll second that motion.
Have a motion and a
It's
second.
167 what?
160, I'm sorry, 167,067.
What percentage is that? You say 4?
I have to do a little bit, what part of it?
The increase from 30 to 40. What's that?
So
percentage?
that is a 4.1% year over year, if I did that correct. An average of let me restate that. That is an average of 4.1% over the 8-year term of that, since 2016.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Carry, in favor of the recommendation, you may have the chair.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that, y'all. I just don't like speaking from a chair's position. I appreciate y'all understanding that.
Can I ask
Yes,
Mr. Bader another question?
you may.
Will the fireman be okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
You
a,
want to do my one-on-one?
we're going there next. Let me catch up with my pieces here. I try to keep a good record of where I'm at.
The firemen will thank you and appreciate compensation. They don't do it for the money, but every once in a while, we do need to reflect and thank them for, many of them were out 3 and 4 hours last night helping with the storm stuff.
They're putting their lines out just like any other company.
I appreciate your request to increase it. My only concern with the going as far as we were going was that was literally a 8% average over year. That's, maybe it went too long, I don't know, but that's a large change year over year
Come back
average.
more frequently?
You know, you can always bring it to the table.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, you may.
to address Mr. Rutherford's concern,
There's been a concentrated effort on the last year and a half, kind of shut things down in the fire department. And also rescue another effort that when a call goes out, rather than everybody showing up for that number of calls, and there is. I know some directors, rescue in the past, thought you never have enough people to spend. You know, every effort has been made in rescue and fire to cut down on some. I think we have 3 people on rescue that are on fire. Those people, so it's not fair.
Anytime overlap.
I'm glad you made that mention. Let's go back and look at rescue there and make those same changes on the per diem for rescue. If we're gonna do it for one, we're gonna do it for all. So if you will turn back to page 28. And we'll just make those corrections so that they are finalized now. That will move.
Would you like a motion for that?
I think it would be in order to go in and put a motion that we're moving.
I would like to make a motion to go back to line item.
316.
316 on rescue squad. And to increase the per diem for $40 per call as we have done in the fire department. Miss Amy, can you work there?
How many calls? How many calls?
Type it out.
Yeah,
What I explain.
let's see what happens. Oh, how many calls has rescue had?
So far.
Yeah, the last year, I mean, last year. I'm just trying to get an average number to make sure we're gonna have enough there.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, we're at 147 now, we got till December. So we can get it going.
You're already at 147.
Correct.
Oh,
So we're gonna be pushing 200 for easy, that's it.
well, if you're already at 147, that would be pushing 300.
300. Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yes.
We're in December, I'm July.
And how many members generally?
On
Let
average.
me ask this question. How much was the, you said we were right at 15,000 for this year, 18,000 for the year.
Or current, right now. If we paid out right now, it'd be around $18,000
From December.
from December to
Now.
today. Yeah.
But we want to put, okay.
And how many members show up at like?
Typically 3 to 4 tops. No, it's like last night or something, it's large scale and obviously more people.
Is there a regulation, structure of who is called out when, or is it just, they get called out, anybody who's available can come, or how does that work?
Pretty much who was available, which
So if it's a weekend and everybody's sitting in the house and there's a call and everybody can show
not typically though. I'd say
up, but they can.
they potentially could, but
Fire's the same way, it's an all call when it goes out. All members get the same call.
So there's no, I guess schedule is a better word, there's no real schedule, I know they're volunteers, but
yeah.
it's hard to schedule volunteers.
Correct.
There's,
You
there's no-
never have 100% show up when you do an all call.
No, I'd say that most people, last night, I think we will split, everybody split.
Well, it's again, some of them were my people,
Yeah,
and
so-
some of them were your
We
people.
may have had 6 people last night that were representing rescue for everything we had going on in county line.
That's the only thing that drives me like. Or makes me feel uneasy.
Does rescue go on every ambulance call? They were, but they're not,
No, they've only been on selected, so we have dispatchers when paid enough.
What's the process of being called out for fire and rescue both? What's that process like?
Like,
To get called out, what has to happen for
it
them
would be
for
like
rescue?
a notification,
It's more likely
Who,
we get involved.
who makes that call?
dispatch, it's already.
They have a protocol sheet that if the accident, let's say, for example, involves 2 vehicles or more, head-on collision, entrapment,
Basically.
we're gonna roll everybody that we've got. His people, my people, it all goes.
Just if sheriff department gets there first, and they're saying, hey, it's not as bad as it sounded, but you know, you get a rear end or 3 other cars stop, but they call it a 5-car MDA. When we get there, and it's only 2 cars, we actually, we cancel everybody.
So if that 46 goes to a 45 after the deputy gets on the scene,
We cancel it.
We can,
so that call out, does that still pay?
yes,
It is still
if
paid.
it's a page out, it's still paid,
If they show
yes. We keep.
Or if they respond?
We keep a sheet, and Matt does too, so we know the members that were either en route or at the scene when it got canceled. We do pay for those cancellations, false calls.
in looking at that number, we're gonna have to make some heavy adjustments to that line item with this one. That would be line item 316 under there's two 316s here for some reason.
There's a donation that we do, and then there's the.
Contributions, we're looking at first at the per diem. Per diem, that 20,000 to cover what we're saying right now at the rate we are. Best my figures can be is gonna need to be 45,000. To move this to the same thing the fire just went to of call.
Well, it looks like we need to cut some more, if that's what we're gonna do.
You have, I'm just throwing numbers that are where the numbers are.
What were the, okay, let's backtrack. What were? I'm gonna read that my notes,
It was not seconded that I remember, so
correct.
we're at 8,
What was the per diem for rescue before?
same thing, same thing.
Same, so it was the same.
Mr. Beatty, can you one more time, just make sure I'm not missing my number. How many calls are we at right now?
146,
147, and how many dollars are we at right now?
just under 18.
Just 18,000 right
I
now.
went on high unit 4 people. so-
I appreciate it.
Is there a way?
That's $17,640 is what I get there where he's. Hang on, give me just a second, let me give y'all some numbers, folks. If we estimate that at the time of month we're at, which is the 5th month. That's where these numbers are coming from, is what I'm telling you. 140, we can do it in the percentage of the time if you want to and go all the way to that piece per month, that's we're actually only halfway in, so we're only 4 months through. Everybody sees where we're at. That's roughly. That's roughly 37 calls a month. That'd be 445 calls in a year estimate on where we're at right now to keep up with the same pace. At 4 individuals per call. Times the $40. That's what I get on that. That's where I have a trouble.
We just did a year instead of 6 months.
That's how much we'd have to have in this account.
So this amount would be from December to current. And then this would be from, well, half of May until November.
Agree, but that's what it costs a year.
That's what you want to do?
I'm not just,
You're doing average per month. I just kind of read every one I have, 50 files to read.
is that an abnormally high number at 147 in 4 months?
When COVID hit and we shut everything down, it took a little while to build up back to where we are today.
Okay,
100%. So last year, it's a rebuild year.
thanks.
Now it's much more structured and established and, cost. We can make minor adjustments and tweaks and kind of limit it, respond.
I appreciate you stating that. If y'all will hear this, please. Here's my concern is I'm sitting here stuck a little bit in this conversation. If I'm figuring it over the calls right now, if we move this to where we're moving, I know we're not changing it until July. We understand we're doing the same with fire. But in next year's budget, at this same rate, we'd be looking at $71,000 in per diem calls here is what we'd be talking about on this rate.
What we were just discussing is we're not comfortable with even 45,000, what you just said, like.
If we're going to $40 per call with the fire department and we're going to 40 with the rescue, then that is what that will cost us just to get the rest of this year.
Okay, so maybe there's a way to change the protocol, maybe there's a way to limit how many people respond.
That's what that's why I said, he stated that he would make some changes, possibly could be able to make some changes to make that work. If we're going to 40 per diem, 40 per diem is gonna cost us
What
this.
you can do,
That's,
go back to 30,
if you go back 30, you go back 30 for both.
right,
I would not be in favor of any movement of one and not the other. Unless we're gonna make some, Here's-
Unless you put some stipulations on the fact of how many are being called out, so could we put that?
I don't think you can do that with fire departments.
No, I'm not saying with fire department, no, I'm not saying with water. And I'm not trying to split the hairs here, but I am splitting the hairs. I'm saying with like rescue, could you stipulate that there's only X amount? Does that make sense?
We're not gonna do a schedule like Rick was suggesting, like, these guys are on these days, or, you know, maybe there's a way to do that.
Mr. Chairman, Grant, we might be able to answer this. And this staff control that after the first three go out? Not really. I think it's gonna be on our end to set those standards. Answer. They're just there to let everybody know it's all.
we've had this discussion many times in this piece. I would love to see the workingness of it. It sounds like you think the rescue can be done.
To a degree, I believe we can, for certain call types, limit the number of responders they have. You know, if they hear two people checking around or how many other people are around, they know nobody else goes. Or if they go, they don't get hurt in. We can set it, if they may want to go ahead.
Yep.
So, two people are scheduled to be paid, but 4 people show up. The first 2 people checking around will be the ones that.
They radioed in, I'm en route, and there we go. There's a grant, Mr. Coffin, I'm sorry, Mr. Ford, I thought you had something first.
you know, Mark made a good comment there a while ago, these boys are not in it for the money. They're in it because they like to be in it. This is not a good year to raise this thing way up. I would make a motion that we leave it 30 for both. You can't raise both of them, don't raise either one of them.
We've already made a motion to move to 40 on the fire. That's already been done, and in the motion was,
You understand
I will not disagree with you, the motion would have to be rescinded, that's where I was going next. So that's what I was mentioning in that piece. If we can, if our chiefs and if those in these positions can structure it so that these dollars don't get out of hand, I think it's the right move still from my position. But if y'all wish not, I'll go which way you want to go. I made the motion earlier. I can rescind it if we need be.
Could we do this on a temporary basis? Could we raise it for rescue and then if the calls are out of control next budget year?
Mr. Coffin?
I think I would like to see the other kind of flip flop is we were sending a motion, take it back to 30, put some sort of schedule in place and let it work for a year and then we revisit this. I absolutely agree that it's been a long time since they've had any pay increase, but I think a big issue is when they get called out, a lot of people are showing up, which is great if you need it, but they're coming from all ends of the county, causing harm to the citizens on the road. I think that's what I would be in favor for.
So a structure, I don't mind a bit. I made the motion. I don't mind rescinding that motion.
Can I ask the question?
You may.
How many firemen you got now, Mark?
22.
How many you have on an average show up in the daytime?
We'll average, probably 6 to 7 in the daytime, closer to 8 on average in the evening or a nighttime call. So we never get 100%.
No, I know you don't, that's why I asked that question.
I do want to state this, and my reasoning on this is this. They don't know when they are called out what the situation is truthfully, and you know that 100%. Until they're on scene and have a knowledge of what's needed, it could be too late to say, oh, we need 5 more, or we need those pieces. So we need to be careful in what we're asking to do is all I'm saying here in this case. I agree 100% with what we're asking and trying to look at a change and make things work. But if it's that many people responding, maybe we need to find out a way to manage that response and that number.
There's been a lot of criticism.
I will not disagree. At $71,000, that's a huge increase in that, just to go to that per diem over next year's cost. That's a huge increase in that cost. At the average rate we're going. So maybe there's a way we can, inside the group together, discuss how that would move and how we need to make those suggestions. And I'm not unopposed to that coming back to the table in committee, if y'all got a plan already in committee, when the commission brings this to the table. We already know the talkings, we've had the pieces, we can bring that back to the table if we can come to a place. With that said, I'll rescind my motion. I think the second was from Ms. Atwood. I can go find it on my page.
Yes.
Page 26 is what I was on.
So,
7, thank you, you're right, because it starts on 26 and ends on 27. I will rescind my motion to move that to $40 per call. It was also rescinded by, the second was rescinded. All those in favor of the rescission, can I hear a aye? Let it be known by stating aye. Any opposed? Let it be known that it is favorable that rescission happens, so it does pass. We are back to where we started. Nothing has changed. We are now back on the fire department at line 27, page 27.
That's it.
And I do hope our individuals know and have heard that are hearing this, this is not us not desiring to pay that increase. This is us not too much unsure of what that increase really is at this point in cost. I know it just sounds like $10 per call, but it has an increase, and we are talking about a budget year where there's a lot of shortfall coming into this budget, is where we are at current, just for pay.
And per diem, does it go back to 50 then?
No, sir, right now it's currently at 30.
Oh, okay, 30, okay. Well, what is that?
It does not have 50 in the budget. It does not state that anywhere in the budget. It just says per diem paid in December. It is not in this budget, so it is current and no change, so it would be at 50. That would mean we could slice
It would be back at
at
$50,000.
$50,000, not
That's what I
100,000.
thought.
That would move the per diem back to 50,000, not 100,000.
That changed the bottom figure too.
It certainly would.
15, 152, 067.
Yes.
You take 15 more thousand off of,
Hmm.
you take 15 more thousand off that.
We got 167, so it'd be 152, 067.
Yes, sir. I have not heard a motion on this yet.
I'll make a motion, move it back to 30. Leave it where it is.
Second.
I hear a motion in a second that line item 316 per diems is cut to 50,000, $30 per call. And I would like to discuss, I think Mr. Cotham said it well earlier we would like to know more of the structure to try to move that. I don't think this committee is against the movement. I think it's more about how is that going to be structured so that it doesn't get completely out of hand. I have a motion and a second on the floor. Do I hear any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
It is favorable. All right, then folks, that does have us, meaning that the fire department now, we would move to 111, page 55.
I have a question. So on the rescue squad, they're already at 70,000. You want to go ahead and increase?
It seems like the budget's pretty strong.
Because they're at 20,000 budget and they're already at 17.
I wanted to, I forgot, we were talking about the 20,000, let's do an internal budget amendment, we can with that to some conditions. It's already there, I don't have.
That's what I think, we just come to a movement in the near future and move that around. I think there's enough money in the fund to do that move. I did have the same thought you had, but I literally was like, well, we won't know in December where it's really at. Let's just find out what's in that fund then. All right, folks, we are on page 55. You're in your 111 side of the fire department. Here in this case, this is 54,310 at the bottom of the page. It has a slight increase. Here it looks like it's really only the cost here for mainly for gasoline.
Big chunk that we take out of urban is fuel and some hand equipment. Those are the big expenses that come out of that urban budget.
It looks like the main increase is setting at $2,000 in other equipment and $1,000 in other supplies and materials for a total increase of $3,000.
Make those to approve.
Have a motion by Cochran to approve favorably. Do I hear some? Have a second by Overman. Do I hear any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. It is favorable. All right, then. Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate your presentation. Your very thoroughness too. I appreciate it greatly. All right, folks, let's see, that moves us to the page 44 in the 118 fund ambulance, page 44. That took a little longer than I was thinking it was gonna take, though. I apologize. Not that I was gonna rush do anything, but it just went a little further than I thought. All right, looking on page 44, your 118. As I've done with the others, I do want to mention a couple of increases. Over the 10-year span, I'm doing the same for all. Over the 10-year span, the 118 has grown by 71.01%. Over the well, I'll find the numbers here. Over the years since 2019, the same way I did with the others earlier, the 5-year span, it has grown by 90.77% in budget requests here. It would be up 90% since 2019. In stating those numbers, are there any movements in those numbers, like additional employees or something I may be missing?
Just their pay increases mostly, since the wage studies were done. Automatically, holiday pay, going to 8 to 22 hours pay, majority of the time, overtime rate for those.
How many holidays are there in a year that we pay holiday? 13. There's a lot of difference in 13 times 8 and 13 times 24. That is very true.
We pay about $100,000 in holiday pay, so it's worse than.
All right.
Matt, level in emergency services, I always, pick on the charges, the patient charges, we're not gonna continue to pick on that. I don't understand why we don't bring in more of that. I don't understand why it's only $500,000.
Yeah, that's,
I just don't understand.
we bill if they don't pay, it's the majority of it.
And
But
there,
we have the billing service, correct?
It's still with the billing service, that doesn't mean people are paid.
No, I get that, so does it not, is it not turned over to collections or?
Collections after, I think, 3 invoices.
What is your percentage of complete, getting your
The recovery, I think if you look at the last thing billed out. And you may have this quicker, the reports that I sent you. 50% on national average for 911 service. We were on the.
What is the big reason for that?
They just don't want to pay it. And there's no way for us to pay it.
What would you say the majority of your calls are going to nursing homes, cold living,
No, just general public. We don't,
everywhere?
I think we did 136 responses to the prison last year. So that comes out to like, with about it.
Did they pay?
Yeah, they pay 85% of what we bill. So we billed out $95,644.98 for April. And we recovered 41,853.72. And we're for the year today. And recovered revenue 454,170.
How much has been billed out?
For the year.
Mhm.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
The last month was 95,644.
It's hard, month to month is really hard to keep up with it. A quarterly, something of that nature is a lot more clear picture usually. I do want to state, I misspoke a minute ago. I said 5 years from 2019. My numbers were from 2020 to now. Since COVID, that's what I tried to put things together on. This budget increased from 7.5% of the budget in 2020 to 12.4% of the budget in this year's, if that becomes the case. Which is, like I said, an increase of 90.77% from the county. Mr. Beatty, I think the one thing that continues to come at us is, and the overtime issue seems to be a very large number of this budget. I realize there should be overtime in every pay period. I think there's 108 and maybe 96 or 120 and 96. Is that what it is? 120 and 96?
16 pay periods of 120 hours.
16.
And then 10 at 96 hours. So there's 40 hours of overtime in every long paycheck. There's 26 pay periods a year. 16 of them are 120 hours.
Why would 16 of them be 120? That's not half a year.
Well, that's just how the schedule falls. It's just every third day. That's how many for the pay period. It's gonna be, 1 week will be 3 shifts work and 1 week will be 2 shifts work. And then there's a period where there's only 2 shifts work each week.
What is your shift, 24 hours?
Can we back up to that?
Yeah.
How is it 16 at 120? There's 26 pay periods in a year, 52 weeks in a year. We, every other week are our hourly pieces. How am I, where am I missing the 16 of those? That really is an interesting number to me.
It's just how the schedule falls, since every third day there's work. I mean, so every other pay period, or every 2 pay periods, there's a short one. It can be,
That's not every two.
no, it's, I mean, but that's just how it's scattered out throughout the schedule. Throughout the year, you'll work So one pay period will be 120 hours, because you'll have 3 days, 1 week, 2 days the next week. And then you have another long day, and then you'll rotate where you'll work 2 days 1 week and 2 days the next week. You'll have
Can that schedule be built?
just like 24, 48 hour schedule is, everybody does the same thing.
I'm not disagreeing, they don't do the same thing, but I'm still trying to, I'm going to lay it out in front of me and look at the pieces, but how in the world you're getting 16 of those pay periods at 1 and 10 at the lower rate? I'm not sure how that's happening. I'm missing something somewhere. I'll have to, I'm totally missing something.
For your calendar, at some point I'll be able to show you.
And there's no way to balance those so that 13 and 13?
No, it's just how the schedule falls.
That's interesting. Every 2 weeks should be this. And every other thing.
It's not because you work 7 days a week, where you look for, if you work 5 days a week, then it may fall that way. And we work a Sunday, all Monday, Tuesday, work Wednesday, all Monday, and then next Thursday, or maybe 3 days in 1 week that they work on a 7-day schedule during the pay period. I think it should be counted.
We're working 72 hours.
They work 24 on, 48 off. Every third day, 10 days a month roughly.
What's your average number of calls
Per month,
per month?
we run between 130 and 150.
130 and 150 per month?
I think last month it's 150 something. We run over 160, and then sometimes maybe a month it's only 120, so somewhere in the middle range there's.
I got 2 questions.
Go. Go ahead.
Line item 335. Maintenance and repairs to the service to the buildings. You already had 30,000 budgeted in there, you've only spent 1,500, but you're increasing it another 20,000?
I didn't put that in there. That was.
I've been up there a couple of times, lately.
I'm not saying if the building doesn't need the work or the restructure, but I mean, we had already allocated last year for 30,000 for maintenance repairs, and now we're adding
Should
another
have
20.
understand,
I know,
30,000 from the year before was not spent, and this 30,000 hasn't been spent, we're working to try to. We've been in there, we're clear, to look at some things that can be done, but it's gonna take an additional 50 to bring it up, it's. Committee and this committee probably just look and see all that needs to be done.
I have been in the building and it needs some work. I don't have a problem putting $50,000 in the budget if it's gonna get done. But we talked about it last year and it didn't get done. So if it gets done, that'd be great.
But $80,000 would not go very far on what needs to be done.
80,000, there's not 80,000 there, nothing's.
It's 30 from, it's in the budget this year and then 50 in the budget next year.
so basically you're saying it's gonna cost $80,000 to fix that building, then we need to take a dose or two. I'm just
Well,
saying, or we need to move it.
You say you don't disagree? Did you say you don't disagree? Did you say you don't disagree?
Don't disagree with the bill was built 94. And it's.
I mean, I just don't see us continuing to drop money into a building that is going to continue us having repairs done to it. If we could go even off from, and I'm going back to this again, and we discussed this in the past, even if we go back to the fire department and add on to it,
That puts you more center in the county.
exactly, and
I agree.
I mean,
Disagree at all.
I just can't see putting $80,000 into that building when you've got the water drainage issues and all that. I mean, I know what it looks like. I've been in it. I'm not.
Like I said, it's not an ideal location for
No,
where we go.
It's suffered from lack of attention.
I just. before I get on my soapbox, I'm gonna go
Well,
to
if
the
we-
next.
Let me ask this, where we're at, we maintained, continuing to use the building this year, even though we put those needed upgrades in there. Can it maintain us for a bit of time?
Sure.
If we can look at this piece. Mayor, are you in favor of that? You said you put this in? That we maintain the building without those improvements at this point to
I
look
mean, the
at
30,000,
the next.
I think will put a dent in it for.
Well, 30,000 we can't change. That's already in last year's budget. You have to be spent before now because it won't roll over.
That's what we're.
It wouldn't roll over.
45.
I'm sorry, we're on page 45. Next page, sir.
So we're gonna change that?
So can we remove the 50,000 off of there?
That's,
Can, I mean, I know we can. I mean,
The extra 20, I stuck in there and covered, I didn't think 30 would touch it. After you put the extra 30.
So it's 30 to be spent on this budget here or not?
yeah,
So if you don't want to spend 30 the next budget year, you know, what's up to cool.
I like Beverly, I'd rather see it money put on a new building than throw it away out there, 'cause that's what you do, is throwing it away.
For what needs to be done, 30,000 this year won't go over it. As a matter of fact, with Chief Bates' permission, I met with staff and gave them a list of priorities that they would like to see happen. And they responded to that, but it's, again.
but do we have any bids for it? Do we have any bids or?
The guy that expired, I'll give you that. But I can have somebody there in the next couple of days to do that.
He has looked at it and he's going to get some bids.
The fire station costs a little under $1 million. I think it was built. This water department building, I believe, was slightly over $1 million. It's very comparable in terms of numbers of bays, office layout to the fire station. This is just a few years, this building is just a few years newer. So that's kind of what you would be looking at if you wanted a building like this with drive-through bays.
I won't disagree with the statements you made in those numbers and what those cost. When I'm picturing, and maybe I'm wrong in picturing it, I go by 25 and 80 or 80 and 85 pretty regular. In Smith County built a 2-bay ambulance with a helo pad behind it there. I'd like to know what that one cost them. It's a nice looking building. I don't think they got $1 million in that building. So I think there's, if you, do you know what I'm talking about here? Highway 80, Smith County, go like you went towards Defeated Creek, campground there, you turn at 85. Right before that, by the dollar store that was built, that is a 2-bay ambulance with a helo pad out back that has living quarters in it. I may be entirely incorrect, but I don't think that's $1 million building.
The fire station is a three-bay drive-through, got openings on both sides. This building is a 3-bay drive-through, so that'll drive the cost of, it's also got high ceilings to get your bigger trucks through.
So I think if I'm understanding this committee, let me gather what we're asked to do. We're asking to slash to nothing line item 335. Is that what I understood, maintenance and service to the building?
Yes.
Okay, 0. Due to the fact that we're wanting to look at the cost of a building.
Yes.
That's what I understand. Is that what I'm asking?
I mean, I would be in favor of leaving something in there, just in case something crazy happened.
Currently, there's $30,000 that could be spent this year that hadn't been.
I understand, but there,
I mean, I'm fine.
What do you wanna leave?
Take it.
$1,500,
I mean, we always have some money.
That makes sense, yeah. What do you want to take to?
1,500.
1,500. That does leave options. Mr. Beatty, my question was, we have 3 vacant positions in paramedic. I think the same 3 have been vacant for, it looks like 2 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
They're not additional positions,
No.
correct? Okay, so we have 3 open positions for paramedic. that have been open for a period here of 2 years. And the only reason I am stating that, when never mind, our estimates are of. With those positions empty. What is the current estimate? Not the January estimate. I don't think that negative forecast.
So which line item are you?
That would be medical personnel, 131.
April 30th. Year to date is currently 307,503. And that's 66% of it.
So in other words, this 380 is truly the right number. It should have said January.
Well, what I do is in January, I take the numbers that are there and estimate it to me.
Gotcha, love it. So that estimate is a good estimate. I apologize, I misunderstood where that was at. So where I'm headed in that is 380,000 looks like it's gonna pay this year's payroll. With an estimate currently at $307,503. We've made it for 2 years on that. I've got a little bit of an issue with a 90% increase over 4 years myself in cost to this department. I'll be straight up honest with you. I don't know how we continue to fund the department that we've got at the rate it's increasing for the number of individuals. And I'm not saying something negative to your department. I'm just saying as a county, I don't know how we continue to fund the rate of increase it has. This department in 2020 cost the county $470,000, whereas it's in 4 years later, this department is looking at costing the county. Right, page here, 815,000. That is a drastic increase is all I'm saying. I don't know how we continue that rate of growth. That rate of growth is more than 10 cents of property value.
That's where our fund balances have got going to nothing.
And this is not against your department. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
And something I think we can do is we're funding still currently 9 paramedics, correct? That's how it's set up. I think we cut that down to 6 and fund the other 3 positions as advanced EMTs.
That 3 AM PP, okay, you've got 3 of those in your budget?
Correct. So some of those paramedic positions are already filled with these lower level license.
The 3 AEMPT?
So I got several in advanced school right now, so the fundamental basic level pay, I think would be inappropriate, but changing them from paramedic pay to advanced.
So is that taking $180,000 out of that budget?
Are you leaving the positions open
Well, we
for
close
2 EMTs?
just EMTs, because I don't think we'll ever get back to non-paramedics again.
EMTs would be how many?
How many EMTs will we have? So we have 3 paramedics, that's 1 for each shift, and then there's 3 EMTs on each shift, so 9 EMTs and 3 paramedics. But we're looking to go to essentially, I mean, to be fully staffed, we'd be back to 15 personnel, whatever you, most likely like 2 BLS trucks.
So you're talking about cutting that back to 380,
To cut back the work.
cutting it back to 380 instead of 500.
Well, I want to keep spots open, because I think at some point we'll pick up more paramedics. We currently, our staffing, the way we're at, we've only got 3 paramedics for the 31, but 1 for each shift. So we gotta have a partner, so that's an EMT, staff with 2 EMTs. So you got 1 ALS truck, and 1 truck that's just got 2 EMTs on. And that's our current configuration.
So you
24 hours, and 1 ALS and 1 BLS.
Correct.
you keeping 2 crews all the time.
When did we go to 2 crews all the time?
Sorry,
When did we move to 2 crews all the time? That may be something I missed in my,
it's always been since I've been here.
okay.
So before you were here, though, we didn't have 2 crews.
I think unless it's cheaper than ALS.
I don't, well, you're gonna have to explain to me what the difference in a BLS and ALS.
ALS has a paramedic, but BLS doesn't have a paramedic. So, BLS truck, you're not paying a paramedic rate.
I get it, but in 4 years,
Reflect the numbers,
That-
it doesn't, I see, it doesn't, the payroll hasn't gone down since we
No.
switched from two ALS trucks. But
We've maintained the funding for 2 LS trucks, just in case we were to get back to that configuration, but I don't see us in the near future going back to what we had pre-COVID, of having 3 paramedics on shift. It's gonna go 2 tops if we are lucky. So I think we just take those paramedic pay rates and drop them down to an advanced EMT pay rate, which is fine, $10,000 or so each one.
Hypothetically, how often do you have both units out?
That's fairly regular.
Fairly regular?
We're running 150 calls a month. It's 5 calls. It's fairly common for both to go.
Right. I know it's hypothetical, you can't answer that.
that's 4.3 calls a day, roughly 5 calls a day
Somewhat.
for 2 trucks, not per truck, but total.
If this were a bigger county, let's say just Sumner County, for example, and this was a zone in a county that had 12 agencies, this county would only have 1 ambulance. Because the
The
cost.
size of it.
Right, it's like 1 ambulance to cover the zone size. But if one truck's out on call, then there's no coverage. Like, you can't depend on mutual aid from other counties. Every time we get a second call, one of the trucks going to Nashville, Gallup, and Lebanon. So in the grand scheme of things, we have to have 2 trucks. Because we just, otherwise we're not getting,
I agree with that.
we're going to see 100%.
Take 500,000 or rejecting that.
It'll come down a little bit, it'll come down drastically. I'm not gonna show you $100,000 off of everything.
Yeah, like that, maybe 20 to 30,000.
That's if you get back to full staff.
Well, we're not. We're short with 2 positions, I think, total right now, overall for the department, we'd be at
Motion 3. is-
3 or still 3. That's right, because you stay PRN, stay right. So,
Why not remove those and then if opportunity arises, look at adding it back?
That's in front of us here in this case. We haven't had those 3 positions filled in 2 years.
Boy, I'm reading this, it's up nearly $400,000.
Yes, sir, 90.77% in 4 years.
Is there a reason those positions haven't been filled? Just no applicants or just no interest?
You have to get to know what we're doing.
to get the money,
Yeah.
well, I think we could potentially give up 2 positions. And just, and hang on to one just in case we do have that come up, but we're.
So what kind of figures are we looking at on their positions going away?
60,000 positions.
Positions. You're looking at over $100,000 for sure.
More in the range of 150 with overtime.
Oh, yeah, overtime.
Yep.
So are you okay with us removing the 2 positions and leaving 1 open?
I think that's fair to do right now. And if something changes.
Just, and then if it arises, then we can reevaluate the situation to see where we can go from there.
We'll see how that goes.
Do you think it's manageable in your department?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of having 2 trucks and 1 person off the truck was we get rid of overtime. Because when that person went on vacation, the other person was still in, like, it ran perfect, field go together. And then when we lost, we get down 6, 7 people total for the department. And we built it back up now to where we staff 2 trucks pretty much full time, and we're still gonna have to run some overtime. Cause I don't have anybody to fill in, and somebody's off, somebody's sick, so people are having to pick up overtime shifts, and that's always gonna be an issue.
Is the PRN helping you there though?
Some, not as much as I like, but I mean, that's just how it is, unfortunately.
At least it's available
It
to
is.
us in that piece.
So,
So I'm seeing roughly a 150 cut, is that what I'm seeing?
So if you're cutting two positions, that's about 62,000 from 131. And then roughly 60,000 from 187, your overtime.
Say it one more time.
It's cutting 62,000 from 131, so that makes it 438,000. And then line item 187, which is your overtime pay, it's cutting about 60,000 off of that, which is a 390,000.
Repeat that last number, Amy.
390,000, sorry. 450 to 390 cut,
Sorry, I didn't even look.
you said 390, right?
390. And do you want benefits?
That would cut, go ahead and cut benefits as well.
Social Security would move down to 57,552. State retirement, line item 204, is 53,398.
Say it one more time.
53,398. And line item 212, Medicare, is 13,460. Which would put the total expenses at these changes at 1,486,840.
We're gonna have to say everything.
1,486,846.
I do have one other question, though.
1,486,186,846.
846.
I'm sorry, is that your total, the 1.4, is that with the 1,500, that already taken?
That's why I was going to next, the 50,000
The roof,
cut to 1,500. That includes the 50,000 cut to 1,500?
Yep.
Okay, glad you asked that, because I was figuring to ask the same question.
page 46. Line item 471 software.
$8,000.
Yes.
I can't read the description, is it?
Image trend, patient
Okay.
care documentation.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to get from her. We have that.
We haven't had it before.
I think it was under a different name then.
I think it's still, it's taken out of something else. I wonder if it's-
It was under,
That's one of the, that's another.
contract service, I think it might have been there or something.
I don't see what's wrong.
It had been labeled software in the past. That's what it is.
It's a software cost that continues.
Correct.
Yeah. It's just been line itemed out from a different location is what it is. Right now, we currently have not found what it was paid under, but that rate hasn't changed. It's just been putting its own line item. It sounds like the correct line item
Wouldn't that change your workman compensation too?
for 513. Did the removal of those two positions change that enough that we can tell?
I don't know, workman's comp and liability is supposed to be going up about 10 to 15% this year. I honestly wouldn't change those amounts, we'll just see how it shakes out. Because last year we had workers current and we budgeted for 33 and it was 7,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of cuts we're looking at on this one. Do we need to chew on it? We want to vote on it tonight. Okay,
Line item 530, assessments and penalties.
How's it else,
What's the-
whatever it is.
Quarterly Medicaid payments, isn't it?
That's what it said.
Well, that's something we can't change. That's quarterly Medicare payment. We pay in a certain amount to the state.
And then they reimburse us based on Medicare transportation care.
So it's like an assessment, it's not a fine or. a-
No.
It's an assessment.
No, I was just.
Okay.
It's worded, it's not a penalty or anything. It's just-
It was budgeted the same last year. 15 to that. Looks like it's actually came down from the year prior.
Yeah.
That brings your final total currently at the 118 to $1,486,000, $846. 1,400,000, do what?
Do you want your fund balance, Tony?
On the fund balance for the county, let's look at that in a minute. We know we can do about that, yes, ma'am. Is there a desire of the committee at this point?
I would just like to say, it's really hard for me to get my mind around spending $1.4 million to provide ambulance service. It's really hard.
That is a very strong
And
step.
I'm not suggesting that we do away with it, it's just a lot.
How many employees is that?
Currently,
Mhm.
we have 13.
You just have to, yes. 13.
We're after the wage study, the payroll. Increase pretty significant.
I will remind everyone, this does have a 2% pay raise, 2.5% step in everybody's. Still, so that's in this pay. The 2.5% is in.
And EMT is, their rate is what?
I'm
You
sorry.
know what, the hourly rate for an EMT is?
EMT hourly basic is 13.72 to 13.38. Well, in the grand scheme of things, when you add in holiday and overtime, and annually, you're looking at 50 to 51.
I was about to say, that's 50 to 51 is talking about $25 an hour. That's truly a $25 an hour position. That's what that is. On the overtime and okay, so don't get stuck in the 13.72 to 13, the less than,
You have to look at the annual.
that is an over $25 an hour position.
It's 800 hours built into the 24, 48 hour annually of overtime.
With how much of that being, what did we say, 13 times 24? Is that what it was, 13 holiday pay? Position
13 paid hours, yes.
at 24
I don't
hours.
have their overtime rate.
What do you call that 24/48 schedule, is that what you call it? Cause that's all new to me, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So we work 24 hours one day, off 2 days, and
Right.
back, so every Thursday.
Ms. Overman, you said it well, that is a large cost still, to provide for a small area. Almost $1.5 million.
What percentage of our budget did you say it was, of the overall?
That will change it a bit. It was running at 12.4, but that would change it some. I don't know what it's going to change it to.
As far as property funds,
Well, percent of the property tax is what we're really talking about.
it remains at 12.42.
Even with cutting out.
Well, yeah, because that's just your property tax. But that's all that is. Percentages that you're talking about.
But we just cut that money so that wouldn't come out.
So I don't have percentages on the expenses.
There, that's okay, perfectly fine. I just remind us that that was 7.5% in 2020. That was 7.5% in 2020. It's 12.4%. I'm not saying this, I'm just saying we can't continue that growth. There's no,
We look at, you know, there's $1 million that's there.
that's correct. This is the majority payroll. Yes, sir. It is for 13 positions.
Well, you get Teresa on 14. These are comparable pay rates to certain things.
When we say, it's not worth the conversation, but I will say it this way, it's not worth. We can't keep up with a Wilson or a Sumner when we say comparable counties, a Jackson, a
Smith and Megan.
Smith. Yeah, we can't keep up with a Wilson or a Sumner County, it's just plain and simple.
No.
Our increase is not there. You've got a lot of numbers in front of you tonight on this budget. Are you wanting to move on it, or you want to chew on it and come back to it Monday night? Are you ready to make a motion tonight? I think I appreciate greatly that you've been straight up with where you are.
Just as a comparison, basics in Macon County are making 46 to 53, advanced are 57 61, and paramedics are 61 66. Is the Macon County's
Pretty comparable. We're not gonna lose people to that county for that reason. We'll pay them a little better or an average.
We're right there, just. But you're looking at Wilson County starting at 73 for paramedics.
We can't compare them.
Summer counties, like they're at 68 or something, starting out, so we're not competing with them, but we're not very far away.
I'll ask the question again. We're a little over 2.5 hours into the meeting. Are you ready to make a call on this one? Or are you wanting to look at this one a little longer tonight, or you want to postpone and finalize it? Chew on some numbers. There's a lot of numbers in front of you.
Can we postpone the closes and then I gotta get to 3 o'clock in the morning.
We certainly can, because we will about and leave it where we are. We're gonna bring the ambulance fund back to our table. We haven't made a final call on them. Is everybody okay in this committee that? I'll take a motion then. Is there anything else from you, sir?
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn. Mr. Baden, appreciate you, sir. I think, the discussion, we'll get back to it. We'll hit this one first thing Monday night.
Back here.
Yes, sir, back here Monday night.